So Chris and I started Vintage Steele about 5 years ago. And about 2.5 years ago, we moved into this location where we are now on Canal Street in Brattleboro, Vermont. We started resurrecting dead motorcycles, buying them for cheap, fixing them up and selling them and flipping them for a profit. And that's how we became, Vintage Steele, a motorcycle shop. So we get a question pretty often like, what do we do here? And how I like to answer that is we do everything. Right now, because we live in Vermont and we have a lot of dirt roads and a lot of trails and stuff, like the scrambler style thing, high pipes, aggressive knobby tires and stuff is kind of it. They're super functional, super practical. You have fenders and chain guards and knobbier tires, So right now, that's what I'm mostly excited about because of where we live, and it's actually becoming pretty demandful because of how comfortable of a ride they can be and how much fun it can be. My whole life I've been wrenching on bicycles and things with 2 wheels, and like the mechanics behind things with 2 wheels has always been extremely interesting for me. We started building motorcycles kind of naturally in the sense that, you have a motorcycle and then you want to modify it. You want to make it your own. You want to make it unique. You want to make it different from everyone else's.
You want to make it look cool.
Yeah, you want to make it awesome. And so we started modifying our own bikes. And that's when our friends and people saw what we were doing and then started wanting us to do that to their bikes or help them do it with their bikes. And, it kind of just unfolded naturally and like organically. So I just started collecting tools, and then collecting bikes, and then we grew out of the apartment that Sarah and I were living in, and we went and bought a house so that I have a place to put all these tools and bikes and stuff. So that's then when, met Chris, when Chris came up to check out this Honda CB350 that needed a ton of work.
So I worked with Sarah at my other job, and she told me that Josh is working on a Honda CB350 if I wanted to come check it out or whatever. So I was like, this thing's awesome, how much do you want for it? And he was like, well, if you scrape and paint the other 2 sides of my garage, then you can have the bike. And I was like, I'll do anything for a free motorcycle, So I went there every day after work and scraped and painted the garage. When I was done, he gave me the bike, told me if it needed any work or anything to bring back, and he'd fix it. And I was like, well, I'd really like to learn. And then he was like, okay, cool. And then I just never left.
And ever since that day, he's been here every single day. When we decided to become motorcycle mechanics, there's one thing that you don't ever foresee, and that's being so busy with keeping other people's bikes running properly that it actually really limits you to the amount of time you're able to go out and ride. The amount of riding that I've actually been able to do has drastically decreased. I think I barely did 200 miles of riding last summer, and 100 of it was in this parking lot testing people's bikes to make sure they were all right.
Like I always try to take the long way to anywhere I go, to the shop, home from the shop, to my other job, to go visit my mom, like anything. But yeah, I don't have time to ride, which hopefully will change someday.
A lot of times we work with people on budgets, whether that be $3,000, $5,000, $50, $1 million, it doesn't really matter. But I think we probably average 3, maybe 4 bikes a year.
Yeah, the other thing that we're into is encouraging people to be able to do at least minor maintenance on their own motorcycles. There's a certain level of knowledge that anybody should have, to ride a motorcycle.
Look at that frame. We want our customers to be informed and empowered. We want them to know what they're getting themselves into, and we want them to know how to, troubleshoot issues if something comes up. Branching out and doing multiple different kinds of bikes is incredibly fun. I love the challenge. I love learning. So doing like a Norton was super fun. Taking the motor in and out was not. It doesn't really matter, what we're building. I get excited about everything. People can come to us and we can negotiate and talk through the whole process with someone on how they want to build their motorcycle and what they want to do for a motorcycle. There's sometimes there's not a lot of option out there for people. We want to kind of give people that option, and have the freedom to be able to figure it out and learn with them and go through the process with them.
I think the coolest part, not just putting a label on it, but just having somebody come in here that wants to hire us to build them a bike, and just trying to make it exactly how they're envisioning it. Whether, some people, we have somebody who wants us to build them a scrambler, but he wants low pipes, and then people are, so does that make it not a scrambler? It doesn't matter to us. It's just, building what somebody wants, making their dream come true.